Hello, I'm Dwayne Lakin, and welcome to The Unfair Advantage, Sell with NLP. You can't begin to sell until you are invited, and you need to find some way to get your prospect to agree to see you. Often this is by email, phone call, or letter. What you say makes a difference. This workshop shows you how to get noticed, to differentiate yourself, and get invited. Every sales process emphasizes filling the sales funnel. But you have to meet prospects and get them started in the selling process, or that funnel dries up. You need a way to get prospects to invite you rather than someone else or no one at all. There are several ways to get that invitation. First, you must make yourself appealing so someone will notice you and want to give you an invitation. Second, you need to be able to say what you want in a way that is compelling and interesting. And finally, you need to know how to script your calls and notes to increase the chances of your getting a response. Your prospects are bombarded by requests for meetings. It is no wonder people do not want to take the time to see you. So you need to find a way to make you into someone they want to meet. You need to find a way to increase your desirability. After all, if you want an invitation, you need to be seen as someone the prospect would want at the party, so to speak. The first step is to learn how to describe what you do in a way that makes a difference in the eyes of the prospect. Make it clear what your value is. Too often people say what they do. I'm an accountant. I sell diaphragm pumps. I provide steel. Think a minute about how you would answer this question. What do you do? So what did you say? Did you tell me how you make a customer happy? Or did you say what you do every day? How you answered this question is the first clue to whether you tell or sell. When you tell, you describe you and the world as you see it. When you sell, you describe the benefit through the prospect's eyes so that they can see the value. Which do you do? The goal? Make your comment as personal and meaningful to the prospect as you can. For instance, instead of, I'm a cop, how about, I serve and protect? Still not very personal. How about, I make it possible for you to sleep at night without worrying that someone will break into your house? Now that's personal. In Workshop 1, you were introduced to the VAK languages of the mind. Here is your first important application of those languages. The brain likes to hear or read verbs. When you use a visual word such as look or see, the brain recognizes this as a visual word and responds with some stimulation of the visual pathways. A visual word triggers a little brain activity just because it's a verb. The same holds true for auditory action words and kinesthetic action words. Using a verb in any form creates mental activity. It creates energy in the brain. Therefore, if you really want to make your statement compelling and give it some energy, you can use what is called a VAK mix. By using all three languages, the brain reacts with the maximum amount of energy and activity. Your words can actually excite the brain. If a person's brain is energized by your words, you have had an impact. Using a VAK mix also ensures that you're matching the person's preferred language at least once. You've increased the chances that you got through that person's filter. It's important for you to learn to describe your business in terms of outcomes and values with the VAK mix. So look at these examples. Can you see the mix? Notice the VAK mixes in these statements. We are now going to look at another advantage to include in your message. This would be a phrase to guide your prospect in the direction you want him or her to go. It requires that you know what you want, however. That is, do you want a phone call or an appointment? Or do you simply want the prospect to take your phone call the next time you call? or leave a message with his or her assistant as to the best time for you to call again. What do you really want? You can probably choose from many possible actions that you might want your prospect to do in response to your call or letter, so choose carefully. What are actions you might possibly want the prospect to take at this moment? If you could point your finger at the prospect and say what you want him or her to do, what would it be? Now keep in mind realistic limitations. Make your command doable. What do you really want to happen? Can your prospect really do that action? There's no sense in asking to do business together when you're really needing first a chance to meet or just talk. First things first. These phrases should help you get that first appointment. Now you know what you want to say. How's the best way to say it? A script can have as many as 6 elements to give you an advantage, but not every script needs to use all of them. It all depends on what you are trying to accomplish. The most critical first part of a script to get an invitation is to make it personal. It needs to be you wanting to talk to your prospect. It is the first step in selling you. In order to sell you, it needs to be you talking to another person. People talk to people. They don't talk to companies. Here is a call I received recently. There are 2 problems with this. First, people don't want to talk to a company. Second, this is a familiar pattern in an unsolicited sales call. So when someone hears it, they follow the pattern, which is to hang up. It's even worse when the caller says, "Hi, how are you?" That signals for the prospect to hang up. It's a familiar pattern. A better approach is to break that pattern and make it personal. You and me. I want to talk with you. Has asked me to talk with you, person to person. And the pattern is broken, so there is no signal to hang up, especially if you don't pause at this point but go immediately into your next phrase. The next phrase needs to differentiate yourself. You have to be different than the other people who are calling. Author Sharon Morgan suggests starting a sales call by saying, "This is a sales call." An interesting approach. And it certainly differentiates you from most cold calls. The next slide shows some additional ideas for differentiating you from everybody else and giving you an unfair advantage. You started your call by saying, in a sense, "I want to talk with you." The next phrase can be the answer to why. Recent research has demonstrated that you don't really need a good reason to help people feel your action is justified. Almost any reason works, because the listener doesn't really hear much past the link from what you want to your justification. So any implied reason can work to satisfy the brain wondering, why? I'm calling you because. The use of the link because provides the implied reason for the call. Any reasonable completion of this sentence that is honest yet short can provide you with an implied reason for the call. By having an implied reason, you are differentiating your call from someone else's. This is not a cold call. It is a call for a reason. Look briefly at the following slides for more examples of the implied reason. In this example, you're telling the person that you're calling because your record tells us that saving money is important to you. Now that raises the question of what record? You never want to lie. If you have no such record, and this person is not a customer, you obviously don't want to do this. Nearly any implied reason can be useful, but it must be truthful.
Hello, it looks like you inquired about some health insurance information from us.
This was an actual call I received recently. The was an interesting twist because it masked that the person was reading a script. Well delivered. But since I have no reason to make health insurance inquiries, I knew it was a lie. Why would anyone do business with someone who starts the conversation by lying? I actually asked the caller that, by the way, and received no response. This is another actual call I received recently. An interesting script, I have to admit. The pattern would be to say yes when asked, "Do you remember me?" However, he had used this on an earlier call, so I asked him, "Have we ever actually talked before?" He, of course, had to say no. Again, why would anyone do business with someone who lies? Don't lie. It's not necessary. Another way to differentiate yourself in your first call is to use the relationship bridge. This is simply a phrase that indicates you have some kind of connection to the person you are calling, typically a past contact or a shared friend or interest. The next few slides provide you with some examples. At times, it's possible to include a benefit statement in the invitation script. This must be short, it must clearly be a benefit and not a statement of what you do, and it needs both a VAK mix and an action command. Take a moment to look at this script. It begins with the you and me. Notice the VAK mix, saved, talk, see, help, as well as the action command, talk with me, talk to me. The last phrase, "Is this a good time for you to talk to me?" emphasizes again the you and me theme and is also a call to action. If the script is delivered well with no spaces to trigger a hang-up, the prospect is likely to say yes and to accept a contract to call back again at a specific time. Hello, Mr. Watts. Office RS has asked me to talk to you because I have saved a lot of money for your sister company, Ajax Products, over the past few months. If you can talk with me for a moment, we should be able to see if I can help you get more out of your budget too. Is this a good time for you to talk to me? Still another way to differentiate yourself is to use a contract. Now, what do I mean by a contract? It's a powerful technique because it differentiates you by demonstrating that you are someone who keeps your word. You can be trusted. It can be as simple as saying, "I'll call back tomorrow at 10," or "I promise to keep our conversation to less than 10 minutes. A promise is a contract that you must keep. You then demonstrate that you made a deal, you kept the promise, and you'll keep your next promise too. You are someone who can be trusted. When that happens, you have successfully sold you. This is a more typical script with all the components. Remember the reference to 2 minutes. Those 2 minutes must be true. Don't make a promise and then break it. Note that the contract is offered before the final action command. This is because of the risk of someone noticing the 2 minutes and using it to stop the conversation. "Oh, 2 minutes. Oh, not right now. Sorry, I can't spare that right now." Such a response is far less likely to happen if you end the script with, "Is this a good time to talk to me?" If they say no, then you can quickly say, "Oh, I'm sorry to have interrupted you. When would be a better time for you to talk with me?" Again, an action command and the possibility of another contract. If you're given a callback time and you call back exactly as promised and still keep the time promised from the original script, you will have proven yourself trustworthy and improved your credibility. Remember, the primary goal in an invitation script is to achieve the only reasonable goal. Get the person to talk. If they don't talk, they hang up. If they hang up, you can't sell you. If the prospect agrees to talk with you, be prepared with a second script, one that includes a clear benefit statement as well as another contract offer. Differentiate yourself if you can in the second script as well as the first. In this example, I'm guessing not many people get calls from psychologists. Then notice the benefit statement, the contract, the action command, the forced choice at the end, and notice the VAK mix.